All right. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Advancing Consciousness series. For the people that do not know me, my name is Franco De Nicola. And today we're doing episode 17, and it's about getting real. It's time to get real. And we're going to play with that today, and we're going to look at what that really means and really how it impacts you in your life moving forward in a big way. Because now we've given ourselves the opportunity in a very powerful way to really use what we have now orchestrated collectively in our beautiful tapestry, our levels of reality, to really flourish in ways that we've always found maybe more challenging to flourish. And no matter what's playing out, it is assisting us, and we're going to play with all of that. So stay tuned for that part. So for any of you that have missed the last workshop that we did, which is bringing the new you to play in the new world, you still have an opportunity. Included in the description, you will find a link that will take you there, and you can get the recordings, which are video and audio recordings for you to use. Now, there's a lot of information, there's processes, meditations, and so forth. It's about 8 hours worth of content that assists you right now with everything that's going on. So if you didn't get a chance to be live with us during the live stream, and if you would have been out live with us, you would have been more interactive, and at the same time would get the automatic videos and audio recordings. And others that could not attend did order the videos and audio recordings, and they're very inexpensive, and we made it available to assist you at this point in time in ways that we've been calling forth. So that'll be in the description below, and then Kimberly may post it at time to time. The other thing I wanted to do is I'd also like to appreciate and thank you for any support that you have provided, and we are always welcoming any financial support to help us to continue to put this content out there and to facilitate in big ways, because we've come together right now to really flourish and to step into a bigger way of playing life. So the other thing we also want to mention is if any of you would like to also look at some of our other workshops, they're also at the link under Teachable. And also as an offering, we do have a membership group where we meet twice a month normally. So it's bi-weekly, as they call it. Sometimes it ends up 3 times in a month. But bi-weekly for a couple of hours where we get to discuss, share, and look at various things that are ongoing, and you get the latest of information and also assistance, and at times there's going to be meditations and processes that we do also. It's been running for over a year now, and we have quite a few people that have been from the beginning. You can join at any time, and once you become a member, you have access to the archives for the last year or so. Tons of content, because there's like 4 hours minimum per month. Usually we go over that, but anyways, 4 hours per month for you to access. So it's time to be real. Let's take a look at that. What does that mean? I mean, with everything that's playing out right now, a lot of us have left or stepped out of the part of ourselves that is the true knowing of the design of everything that's playing out. So what we do is we let go of our own capacity to be fully present in the experience of life and using our own navigation system, and we now go for the ride of whatever is being shared on the media, what's shared amongst each other, what is interpreted, and whatever else. So, and there's a lot of different stories that we hear, and a lot of different stories at times are very polarized to the point of creating intense fears, feeling that there's no future, feeling that in some way, somehow, that what we strive towards life is no longer available for us. And the fact that we have the confusion of what to believe, because there's 3 parts to this. There's the part of you that the mainstream media is pushing whatever the agenda is of the understanding of that part. There's the other part that is the other ones that are looking at the other side of things and say, well, it's a beautiful expression and opportunity for us to flourish. And then you have your own input, your own understanding, your own navigational viewpoint of how it is. And now when I'm talking about our own, we're not talking about the ego's version, we're talking about the soul, human entity, and body consciousness that we have within ourselves. So all of that, so you have the three that's playing out. So what's happening is a lot of us are getting lost in the noise, in all of the information that's going on. And the purpose of even this series is not to create more confusion and to create other polarities. It's really to stimulate the part that is the knowing within you. It's giving you the clarity to access that you. So you're getting real and fact of seeing that, life, because when we look at what's going on right now, we could look at the world and say, okay, it is falling apart. The life, the world, the experience, my journey, and everything else that I've known doesn't look like it's going to even exist any longer in the same way. And absolutely, that has a very good point, because it's never going to be the same anyways. However, we can look at it and see that that is an end-all, saying, okay, see, we're not going to be able to really move forward. Others, of course, are also experiencing excitement about it. And what the excitement about is saying, oh, finally, we're experiencing change. Finally, we get to see signs. We get to see our reality shaking and moving and whatever else. And it's bringing up whatever it brings up for us, but we're ready to move forward. So when we're looking at this, because let's look at it closely here. If you're looking at the different feeds of information that's coming out in the realities of our collective, co-created playground, we have stuff that we hear. Now, if we're deep into the mainstream, then we're just going to follow that agenda and that story, whatever that is. And I mean, that's a beautiful experience too, if that's where we're at and we choose to really dance with that a little longer. Then the other part that's coming out and saying, oh, we got these, the aliens are saving us, or that we have these specific gurus coming through, or that we, in fact, that, our life is going to be fixed up because of all of this stuff and what's going on and whatever else. And then we hear about a lot of other things that are going on that, we're not going to be able to survive or have a sustainable system of life. So we get to hear all of that that's coming up. And we're going to swing wherever we're going to go based on whatever experience that we want to gain, but we have the freedom to really just go and experience it, get whatever we need from it, and then be able to shift away from it because it no longer serves. So we're looking at all of what's playing out right now and saying, okay, I can choose to swing one way or another. So what happens if one narrative succeeds in another? Because in that other narrative, it says, okay, we have these victimizers, we have these systems, we have these elites, we have all of this stuff that, and all this, of course, the what we call exposures that are coming up and disclosures and so forth, and everything that we've felt that was solid was, in a sense of what life really meant, and that was the way of life, is now being shattered in a way, especially if you're looking at it and saying, oh, okay, everything that I gave power to, everything that I've dictated myself through is now no longer the way I thought it was, or I was led to believe that way, which is great because it kind of shakes things up. So the thinking that, okay, if we disclose and get rid of all of this, so life is going to be great. And at the same time, it's saying, well, we got also these others that are coming in to assist us and so forth. And we do get a lot of assistance, and we are doing it. However, how do we feel? Like, for example, going from our current state and going into our true state. And when we're talking about the true state, we're going back to a true design of life where it does not involve fight or flight, polarization, survive, or anything of that. It's about flourishing, cooperation, playfulness. All of that is all part of it. And it's not all of the other stuff that we've, adopted as an idea. So when we're looking at that, right now, the question always comes up, what is really happening right now? What is taking place right now for us? Okay? When we really look at it, when we see exactly how things are orchestrated, the question we ask ourselves, did this happen to us? Did something have more power than us? Did something dictate and say, hey, doesn't matter what you want to experience, it does not matter what you want to engage with, you're going to play the game on these terms, whatever it is. It looks that way on the surface. It looks in a way saying, oh, okay, that's what it is. But is it really? Is it really? Is it really playing out the way we've adopted the idea of the belief around that? Or is it something else? So when we really look at the depth of this, we have to understand that stuff doesn't happen outside of our agreement, okay? And collectively, we've agreed to play this game the way it is right now. Now, we collectively also saw that we were on a treadmill, we were on a hamster cage, or whatever they call it, hamster wheel, and we were on a cycle that was so hard to get out of to step out of it, so that we needed to create a disrupt of some sort and really to bring things to the surface so that we actually would be able to flourish in a big way. So this is what's going on. And then people say, well, okay, this is playing out. How did I agree? Well, you do agree. You do agree, even though it's not from a conscious state, even though that is there. So you're looking at it, you say, okay, I have a consciousness that kind of believe, maybe that may have happened. And you can also tune into your superconscious mind and saying, or subconscious mind and say, well, did we call this in? The subconscious mind goes, I don't know. I just record all the stuff that we've been experiencing up to this point in time, and I have reference points around that. But this seems a little bit different than whatever else. But if you're talking to your superconscious, so you have your superconscious, which is your higher self soul. You have your human entity consciousness, and then you have your body consciousness. All of those parts are saying, yeah, we are on board with this, and the reason we're on board with this because we want to move forward and advance in a huge way compared to what we've been doing, because the snail's pace that we were moving along before was not creating or aligning with what we really wanted to get to, because we've spent a lot of time crawling extremely slow and pausing all the time and getting stuck in whatever we were playing out at that point. So many people right now get into the situation where, we're looking at all of this and say, okay, if I agreed with it, what's my purpose around that? What am I to do with this? What am I to do with what I'm looking at? Well, if you tune in and you even spend a few minutes with yourself, it's really an opportunity for you to say, okay, let me take a look at, this is my reality right now. Some of it is purposely created for myself personally and very individualized. That could be your current reality and all the playmates in your current reality. And then you look at it and say, okay, well, I also have this co-created realities, and those are levels. Okay, you're not only creating one co-creation, you're looking at the planetary co-creation, but you have your family dynamic co-creation, communities, groups, or whatever else. And those are all co-creations too, but different stages of co-creation. So you say, okay, this is where we're at right now. My current reality is what I'm looking at. I see the other levels of co-creation that I'm involved with other playmates. How can I use this? How can I look at that? So some people are going, okay, well, maybe I need to have my purpose, right? And look at whatever that is. And at times we expect that our purpose, for example, oh, if I know where I'm going and what I need to do, then it will be easier. Well, deep inside you do. However, how many obstacles, how many parts of filters do we still have? And all of us have to a certain degree. So the point is, what is the main purpose right now? Is the question you ask. Right now, what's my main purpose? My main purpose for many of us is to look at my current situation and see how it resonates, see how it aligns with who I am, see how it feels in that state. And also to observe if there's any stories, programs, attachments, or ideas that life is a certain way that's coming up to the surface. And you can look at it and see which one is in alignment and which one isn't. And in most cases, all of them are becoming misaligned. So your current purpose, this is the thing, is that other levels come in. Your current purpose is basically to clear all of this stuff so that you could actually see what's going on within yourself. So you're working on, or what you want to look at, observing yourself and removing certain filters and attachments. And when I say attachment, attachments to stories, attachments to a way of life, attachments to people, and attachments to, a specific outcome or a goal of some sort that, may not serve any longer. So that's the attachments I'm talking about. So you're looking at that and say, okay, let's take a look at what is taking place in myself and that I feel bound. So you're looking at also at the same time what actually you have created as an attachment for a sense of responsibility and so forth that is not allowing you, and this is self-directed, you're self-directing, not allowing yourself to move beyond whatever that is, because there's a belief that I have to follow this and complete this. And many times, people that are involved with children and so forth, and say, well, I got to make sure that my children have the best opportunity in life and whatever it is, and then I'll go live my life. Well, that is getting challenged because life is to be lived with all the playmates, and you're living life, because what better example of living life in a balanced point with the individuals involved, instead of saying, I'm going to sacrifice until you get whatever you're here to get, or create my life. And a lot of times we have a tendency to project and looking at our life and say, okay, look at this. I didn't have all this stuff coming into my life, and I want to make sure you get it, or you have a better life, or anything of that nature, which is an idea and concept, but how does it serve? Does it really serve? Is that what is being asked? Because you have to understand that the co-creation is existing in that moment and that experience. And this not only with children, this goes on with partners, playmates, parental, siblings, you name it, including work and whatever else that you're going to be doing or do as you play. So now that we're looking at all of this, your main purpose is, okay, let me look at what all my alignments and adjustments and so forth, and what attachments I have, and what I'm holding on to be completed within myself, so that I can put them aside and see what the next step is. So your purpose of moving forward and how your life goes will unfold each step of the way. Now, there's many times that we're looking for this big idea, thinking, oh, if I line up with my purpose, then I can move through all of this stuff. Well, where's that coming from? That's not from your higher self. Your higher self says, that's stay on target. It's the ego that says, oh, we got to clear the way. We got to make sure everything is taken care of. And not only taken care of, we need to know the direction before I leave my house. Not only where the direction, I want to make sure every light is green. I want to make sure that there's no obstacles, whatever, not even a puddle. I want to make sure of that. That's what the ego is going to say. Your higher self and all aspects of itself, say higher self, is basically saying, let's get going. Because you know what? As we're going along, we're going to run into some things. And you know those things? Those things are going to help us. Those are the things that are necessary for us to have certain experiences so we can create even further openings. So the movement is not waiting, it's start moving. So you're basically going through step by step how you feel guided, what's next. And that's how we use it. So what have we created here in this current way of experiencing life with everything that's taking place right now, with all of the different polarities being really accentuated? We're just giving ourselves an opportunity and saying, okay, you know, when I didn't have that many obstacles to go down my path, I was still crawling. I was taking little baby steps. And not only that, I was bringing along with me all of the other stuff that was attached to it. But now it's what you're creating the opportunity is we're going to move more forward, and anything that we're attached to, we're going to get rid of all those things. We're going to drop it. We're just going to keep moving forward in a big way. Because the thing is, that's what we are ready for. So even though that we have this so-called scary thing playing out, we have to understand, in true knowing, you will only have the experiences that you choose. You will only engage in whatever intensity that is going to be beneficial. And you can't miscreate. You're not going to say, oh, I should have done this because then I wouldn't have gone down that path. Well, the only reason you would plug anything in, so for example, you're going down the path, and if you're going to put something intense there, the only reason is to assist you to create a bigger opening and shift. Because if it wasn't necessary, there's no way you're going to plug it in. And if you have a strong belief here that I need to dissolve, then you're going to plug it in anyways. There's a purpose behind this. You do not, put anything that is not purposeful, that is not beneficial, that is not aligned. Now, at times, we get nudging and whatever else and saying, hey, look what's going on here. We got to really take a look at this. This is like huge here. We're going to take a look at it. Now, you can choose to ignore it, and many of us have, and this is the reason that a lot of this stuff is playing out, because collectively we've made so many excuses to keep waiting. Let me get to here, let me do this, let me do that before I give myself the opportunity to align with my higher self, with my true essence of what I came here to do. Okay? And the thing is, many of us, what we do is we put on the back burner everything. So for example, we have our mind, okay? So we can call that our conscious mind, because it is that. Conscious mind. So we have our conscious mind. We have what we also call, in this case, the subconscious mind. Sometimes I stumble on words. So subconscious mind. Okay? So then we have our superconscious mind. Of course, we have our human entity, consciousness. We also have body consciousness. And then we ask ourselves the question, how much of this have we put on the back burner? Your body's trying to talk to you. Your human entity is trying to talk to you. Your superconscious, which is your higher self, soul. Well, you put soul on that too. Higher self, soul. Of course, your subconscious mind is the memories of all the different experiences that you've had at this point. And your conscious mind is basically taking all this information and use it. But then, what we have is this other thing. It's called the ego mind. Right now, if you're feeling super intense about what is playing out right now, we need to be afraid, we need to protect ourselves, we need to take certain actions, we have to have whatever so that we are not exposed to any potential aspect of it. The question you have to ask yourself, who's talking? Is it your subconscious mind? Maybe there is a bit of that, because your subconscious mind goes, hey, we've had some pretty interesting little experiences, okay? However, your soul is saying, no, hey, let's move on. Let's go play with it. Your human human entity consciousness and saying, hey, we're ready to move forward, and your body consciousness, same thing. Listen, whatever we're going to expose to, we're going to figure out a way to adjust it and to align, because that's what we do. We align with whatever we have to play with. So it's going to come in. It's this part that's saying, we got to protect. We got to look after ourselves. We need to be in survival mode. You know, the chances are something bad could happen to us, and we have no control because everything outside of us can hurt us. Everything outside of it has power over us. None of this other part saying any of that. It's just the ego mind. The ego mind, again, will take whatever the subconscious mind has stored as older experiences that may have happened to you, but we have to understand the subconscious mind also keeps records of everything you've been exposed to, what you've seen other people go through, what you've seen even in movies and so forth. So it will, and this is the impressionable part by, you know, exposing ourselves to different forms of media, because the ego mind is saying, hey, wait a minute, I can use some resources here, remember? But a lot of times it's obscured. It does not say, oh, we saw this in the movie. No. Because then you're going to catch on. So instead of saying it's in the movie, it's basically just brings it up and creates a story around it. So it makes it look like it's you. It happened to you. When we're looking at what's playing out in regards to the ego mind, it's going to create a story that looks realistic. It creates a story that in some way or another, okay, it looks like it's you or that it's happened to you, even though it doesn't allow you to go into the archives to look at it and say, oh, yeah, we saw that in the movie, or we saw that with a friend, or we saw this, you know, through something else somebody else shared. So this is the interesting part of it, because the ego is very crafty in that respect. So we need to look at what's going on and say, all right, what we're playing with right now, this opportunity that we have created is there to assist us. So we become advanced in ourselves, so we are connecting with more of this, but we're also taking more and more out of the equation, the ego mind. This is a software, and I've said this many times. It's just a software. And what is a software? It's a program. It's a program and which has artificial intelligence in it. Okay? Now, even though it doesn't have the resources it used to have as a backup, it likes to tap into other egos, but at the same time, it loves to go into your subconscious mind and also observe anything that's going on and create a story around that. So many of us, if we're experiencing a lot of fear, if we're experiencing a lot of, you know, feeling that you are not in control of your life, or that something will have power over you or can affect you or in some way change the course of your journey, that's not coming from any of this part. Now, part of the change of your journey is saying, yes, let's utilize that. But it's really the ego mind, that's the software saying, hey, you know, we don't have any of this. We're not in control here. Because none of this is going to say we're not in control. All of this is going to say, oh, we are in control. We're actually creating, co-creating here. Because it's the first level of co-creation is the body, the human entity, and the superconscious part, which is the soul, is co-creating already. That's the first level. And then you have the other levels which you co-create with other playmates in your life, starting from the most significant and then extending out from that. So that's what we're doing. So when we're looking at all of this that's going on at the moment, we really staged it. How can I say? Staged it in a way where we can have the massive amount of progress in a short period of time. And this is why it's so impactful. You know, when we look at it and say, well, you know, are we in a state where the world is going to come to an end, or that the fact of our life is going to come to an end? We did not co-create that, because when we tune into it, you will know from inside that it's not a co-creation that we choose to go, because our co-creation, and this is what we have to look at, our co-creation is for us to give ourselves the opportunity to really come and do what we came here to do. And first of all, that is to experience life and so forth on this particular playground, to really use the human physicality and what we call the planet at this point, Gaia and so forth, to really move forward in a big way, in a powerful way. Not to step outside of it and say, okay, we're going to just terminate this. And I know we've done it, and I'm not saying us personally. Our souls may have been involved in certain other incarnations from a long time ago, but the human experience has not wiped itself out. Not this particular series of the human experience. Previous ones, yes. Previous ones were different. So the thing is, the question comes up with people ask, do I have a say in the matter of what, how, and when things unfold? Right now, it looks like I don't have any say. Look at what's happening in the world. What's happening within my own dynamics of my personal life. Do I have a say in the matter? Absolutely. But it's not an isolated say in the matter. It's not saying, okay, we're just going to go with the ego's idea and we're going to do that. No. What we're doing is we're giving very little power to this, and your conscious mind, which is the massive, powerful computer that makes us have our experiences, is taking the inputs from your superconscious, your soul, from your human entity, your body consciousness, but it's also tapping into the collective consciousness. And those are different levels of consciousness, and saying, okay, let's co-create with all of that. So we have what we call a say in the matter, but with this all intact. So it's a unified way of deciding what unfolds and how we play it, rather than a fractured or what we can call an isolated component. Because most of our times in our life, we've been running on an operating system which we call the ego, and that's all it's been. So that viewpoint was the navigator. But now we're saying we have the opportunity to really step up our way of life, and we're not going to give that much power, because eventually what we do as we move along, we're actually taking that operating software out of the equation. So with everything that's playing out right now in the world, at times we say, okay, I understand, I have a say in the matter, but what is my role? What's my role in all of this? Well, your first part of the role is really to center yourself. The first part of your role is also to bring forth the highest aspect of yourself, the truest form of yourself, coming into your life. So that's the first part, because while you're doing that, you're also creating openings for other aspects of ourselves, because everybody that exists on the planet is another aspect of yourself. Every sentient being on the planet is another aspect of yourself. Gaia is another aspect of yourself. Everything is an aspect of yourself, but each are playing various roles. Your role is you're in a physical body. Your role is with your talents, with your skills, with your knowing, and even just the fact of where you're located, where you are, wherever you are now, who you're playing with, that is already a huge component of your role. However, your role is also to become the most authentic, purest sense of yourself possible. So that means I am now going to bring forth the highest sense of who I am. I am source, of course, I understand that. I understand that I'm in a human body, and I do have a human entity that's brought in a massive amount of skill. I have a soul that is bringing multidimensional skills. I have a body that has been evolving along the way, and it's all participating right now, and I am located wherever I'm located, and here I'm playing. So the fact that we're here and we're wherever you are right now is already the biggest part of your role. Now, many of us already feel I have other parts of the roles that are ready to step forward. So in that case, you may feel guided in a way from an internal guidance to take certain steps that are assisting others. Now, when you're assisting others, you're not going in to fix others, you're not there to save others, but you're basically facilitating by bringing forth an opportunity for them to remember who they are, but also to experience life outside of the old confines that they've played in their life. So when we're looking at that, we're also looking at that expanded aspect of ourselves, and we're not any longer looking at anything that we have closed off as a part of our life. So your role and will be also flourishing more and more, because look at it. How many of you started off really not knowing what your role was, even though you did know, but we created the illusion that we didn't know, and we're just living life. And then along the way, many of us have started to say, oh, okay, I now need to change direction of my life. And we may have changed our work environment, we may have changed our relationships, we may have changed ourselves in so many ways to really prepare ourselves for the next stage. So all of a sudden now we're already facilitators, or we are already sharing through various other talents that we have, other things that we can share with others. But those were things that were taking place. So the ones that have not experienced that does not mean that that won't come about. And some of you have chosen not to, just basically by not being that type of a facilitator. That means a back-end facilitator. What does that mean? That means that you're actually making changes in yourself and you're streaming that, of course, without saying, oh, I'm taking action, but just the fact that you are already changing, you're connected to the collective. So you're making changes in that regards, right? So we're going to go through the different stages along the way of what you're prepared for. And there's no timeline in the sense of saying, I need to do it by this period of time. However, you have this nudging, this urgent push within yourself to just keep moving, and things will unfold. Now, the ones that I actually found and saying, okay, I am on my purpose now, you have to be also open so that you allow it to blossom further, because it's going to change. What you did before, you may not do, because other stages are coming into place, because your role changes. Now, when I say changes, it needs to upgrade, or it requires something else, or what you were doing before is not as required because others have stepped into that. Now you're going into the next level of it. So that's why some people have changed certain things. And I've had that experience within myself, where I've gone through changes in my life in the roles I'm playing. Now we're doing the series. Before I was doing also just workshops and whatever else, and spending time on personal sessions. But now the personal sessions needed to shift because this was much more important. And that was another stage. It was like, okay, this is what you need to do. It doesn't matter how you do it, we're going to get going, right? So this is the thing. So we need to flow with things. And that's why we talk about being fluid, because especially now, things are changing so quickly within ourselves and our environment that we need to stay current with the changes that take place. As you can see, who imagined a few months ago that it was going to be the way it is right now? And we don't even know what it's going to unfold. But it's going to unfold amazingly, because we are co-creating, collectively deciding what stages are beneficial. Go ahead.
Yes, hi. People are asking if you can give a practical example of using this opportunity the best possible way.
Okay. So, right now, I mean, where we are at this point, many of us may be experiencing certain emotional charges. Some of us may have certain stories, ideas, beliefs that in some way are coming up to the surface. Oh, life's not going to be the same, or what's going to happen to us? What's the outcome, of all of this? Does this mean that we're going to have, martial law, this, whatever it is? Those things that are coming up for you are either that has been adopted from the collective, so forth, or from your own operating system with the. So you want to look at those things and start removing every single one, because you want to be in a state. So you use that. You also use that opportunity to connect with other people and so forth. Maybe you're not be able to meet with them physically, but you are also connecting with. But the first part you connect with is with yourself. So this opportunity is to reconstruct our life personally and collectively. It's a bringing of people together and choosing at this point, where do we go from here? And this is what's happening. So it's using the opportunity to really look at anything that is polarized that's coming up for you first. Second of all is to also look at what stories we may have about the outcomes of life or how it's going to unfold, what direction it's going to go or anything of that nature. And really get to the point of letting go of those things, clearing it out, and just be present in the experience, and you will know more within. So connecting with yourself, you also will get guidance of what has to be. You were going to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, does this apply to past life experiences that might mimic like what's going on now? So there's fear in the body that is being held on to. Same
Yes.
thing apply?
Yes, it does. So right now we're, really accentuated this movement forward in purging every part. So we're going to have stuff from past lives. Now, you have to understand there's body responses that have been locked in that can be carried from the old consciousness of the body from previous experiences. So you're going to have certain things, or we've locked in certain emotions within ourselves from past experiences that we may have had in this life stream and sometimes in past life streams. So if that's coming in, allow yourself to experience it. Allow yourself to be present with whatever's coming up, any fears, any tightness, whatever it is, and breathe into it. And just not push it away, but allow yourself to experience it, because it starts to dissolve, because first of all, you're acknowledging it. Then you create an appreciation for it. And when I say put appreciation for that, the body's communicating that way, or that whatever is locked up in there, or emotional, what we call an emotional charge and so forth, that is coming to the surface. So you allow yourself to feel every part of it. So it applies to that. Same thing with the human entity, because that's had many, many lives. So it has a lot of past lives. Now, that doesn't mean it's carrying everything from past lives, but there are certain parts of it that it still brought that it wanted to be currently experienced now. So it's going to present that for you too. So for you to experience it, acknowledge it, appreciate it, love it, and then you can clear it out, because this is every part. The body wants to be fully in its clear sense. The human entity, the same thing. Now, the superconscious, the soul, may bring in some other experiences that will help you advance. So it may remimic, recreate, or present that part of it. So normally that's a small portion of that, but it will bring it up. So it's all there to just be presented, gain what you need to gain, use your higher aspect of looking at it, and then you can let it go. Now, we also have lineage. The lineage is what we bring, what we are connected with in the family dynamics. So, for example, the lineage could be from your parents, could be from your grandparents, it can be, a few generations back, that are things that we said, okay, you know something, it's still alive, it's still part of the experience, that is passed on during the lineage for each and every generation that has come along. So at this point in time, I'm open for this because it aligns with some other things. I'm going to experience it, and I'm going to create a new reality around it by acknowledging its presence, by having appreciation and love for it, and then just let it purge out. And that's what we are doing. So, in those cases, it does carry. But right now, the thing we have to understand is that what took a lot of effort, time, and what can I call it? Intensities of going through all of this stuff that we're purging, you'll notice energetically, not only your own personal energetic, your way of seeing things, and the energetics or the energies and frequencies that are being generated not only from Gaia, but from receiving from our sun, from the galactic sun, and so forth, and that we are experiencing. It really makes it very difficult to hold on to things and really drag it out. Now, the ego is going to try that very much so. Oh my God, no, you can't let go of that because that was horrible what happened to you. And a lot of times, like I said, it's not even from your current life, but it could be from any of this other stuff that's carrying. But, oh, this is horrible. We need to heal. We need to go through this whole process. We got to go into forgiveness. We got to go into all of that, which is a whole another topic. But do we? Or do we just see it, acknowledge that played out, and it could have been played out in another life. That doesn't matter. And acknowledge it, appreciate it, and then send it love. And then just put it into the field. And when you're putting it in the field, while you're doing this, it's just putting it into source essence. Go ahead.
Someone is asking, I want to move across the country. Do I need to wait for this to die down? Do we need to put big changes on hold? Just, she knows that this sounds personal, but maybe Franco's answer will answer questions others have.
Okay. Well, it's a good question. So right now, you have the choice. Do I stay on hold here and I don't take any steps forward? Or do I just continue with life and say, I'm going to move along, whatever that may be? So if you want to move across country, across the country, or do whatever you want to do, just check in with yourself. Just say, okay, am I ready for this? If it feels natural to say, I'm ready, and the ego is saying, oh, no, we got to be safe, we got to be secure, because look, we're okay where we are now, and we can't move forward, you want to put that aside. So any of the stories that come up, anything that says, that wants to stop you, or bring up fear, bring up any emotions around that, or a story around that, you want to clear that up. So you're going to go into the state and say, okay, oh, we got to be careful, whatever it is. No, put that aside. Put anything that actually is polarized, anything that has any form of charge, just put it aside. So we basically, okay, I acknowledge you, I see you, I love you, I appreciate you, but I put you in the field. Once you've done that, then you can just sit with that. And now you could do the practice of where you can see yourself packing and moving. And then you can play that out and see how it feels. If it feels, that feels good to me. Okay? Then you could do the opposite. You say, okay, see yourself staying put, not moving. And I'm going to wait for everything to clear and see how that feels. There will be a different feel for each one. One will feel unnatural. It will feel like, that's not really feeling in alignment. And the other one does. And it could be the other way around. It doesn't matter. So we don't want the collective and our own personal fears, because again, the fears, what is it? It's just a story that's creating a fight or flight or survival mode. We want to step outside of that. So if any of that comes up, acknowledge it, be present with it, and if it creates a physical accentuation or an emotion, see yourself feeling it, give yourself the opportunity to feel it, appreciate it in its presence. I love you for everything that you're showing me, and I put you in the field. So you want to be in that clear state when you're making those choices, because in doing so, then you're aligning with what best serves you. Go ahead.
Okay, I know perhaps you were going to actually do a separate talk about this, but this is this topic that comes up often about there's so much fear of vaccinations and 5G satellites and the agenda of Bill Gates and Elon Musk.
Right.
So can you just speak a bit about that?
Okay.
In regards to getting real?
Yeah.
To the topic today.
That's a good topic. We are going to talk about it more extensively, but the question is, look at the scenario that's playing out. We have this possibility of this 5G rolling out, which is already coming out. And I'm going to talk about it because there's a difference of understanding with 5G what it is. Okay? So let's get real. So nice play with that. The 5G, the possible, what do you call it?
And 5G.
Yeah, mandatory. Thank you. That's the word I was thinking. Mandatory vaccination. The idea of what the intent of certain people that are in so-called positions at this point, providing us with opportunities and experiences that we may not be in agreement with. So this is the real part. The real part is, yes, they may have the idea that, okay, this is what we're going to present to you. And I know some of the 5G is already rolling out in certain parts of the world. 5G is what we call fifth generation cellular information or cellular frequency that has a huge range from 10,000 to 60,000 hertz and whatever else. And it depends on what range we use and so forth, will have certain impacts on the physicality, whatever it is. So that's being presented. The vaccination, which is basically, and especially if it becomes mandatory, that, will have an impact. And, we're looking at that, and we're looking at other situations too of financial collapse and all of that. And whatever agenda, say Bill Gates or whoever, doesn't matter who it is, that is presented. The real part is, they are just role players. It doesn't matter what agenda any of those individuals may have, what those groups may have, what, saying, oh, there's the dark forces, the reptiles, whatever it is, then there's the, the white hats, the blue hats, green hats, whatever it is, all these other playing different roles. They're just role players. All of it is role players. Because who has authority over anyone? No one. We are all playing collectively. So, can somebody force you to do something? It can create that illusion. We can agree with that idea and we can follow suit with that. Or we could say, you can say whatever you like, you really have no power because we are co-creating this. And in our co-creation is that we're going to let you just bring up the fears, we're going to let you play out that role only to the degree it serves us, but we can turn it off at any point in time. Because if you really look at it, even if there was the 1%, it's not even that, but let's say the 1% is controlling 100% or the other 99%. So the 1% is creating the other, is controlling the other 99%. Look at those numbers. 1%. What power does 1% have over 99%? Really, zero. In fact, that's not true. They have a small role in it. It's not until the other 99% decide to play along. So the moment you say, for example, in your own personal life, if somebody says, oh, let's go do this, or, let's create this challenge in our life. Unless you say, okay, I'm up for it, let's agree, let's go play with this. It doesn't happen. You say, no, not interested, I'm not playing. You guys can go play whatever you want to play. And then eventually, more and more people say, we're not going to play. So the moment that we come to the realization, right now we've been pushed to come to that realization, really intensely, let's use that word, not difficulty, intensely, to come to the realization, wait a minute, we actually have a say in this. We actually are in charge of how we experience collectively what's going on. And yes, I've provided the opportunity for the 1% to dictate our lives. So if you really look at it, I've given that opportunity and I've allowed that to play because we wanted to create that separation. We wanted to accentuate the polarity. But now we're coming to the realization that that doesn't serve us any longer. We're now really to move forward. So the moment we say, you know something, guys and gals, whoever's involved, we're not playing there. We're not going there. And guess what? It's not sustained. It cannot play out. But if we're in fear that they have power over us, we're basically handing them the key, saying, okay, I'm subject to it. Now, I don't want to create another fear around that and saying, oh, I've given the key, now I'm stuck with this. No. It doesn't work that way. Each moment you have the opportunity to give them the opportunity to play out whatever that is. So a lot of people say, well, they're trying to wipe out the population or whatever it is. They're doing all of this stuff. Well, really, when we understand it, each one of us will choose how to experience it. We either advance in a huge way, or we contribute to advance in a huge way, or we choose to step away from all of it and say, okay, yeah, I'm okay for exiting, no problem. I'm done with my journey. I've played my own role, whatever it is. So when we're looking at that, we have to come to the reality, as much as we believed that in some way, like if you even looked at the pyramid, okay? Say your 1% is right up here. What are all the layers here? We're at different stages of those layers. But that can't stay up there unless the foundation's holding. So this could say, you know something? This is the new rule. Vaccination. Oops. We're going to do vaccination. We're going to do 5G. We're going to do whatever, one world order, I guess they called it. And in fact, we're going to give you martial law. We're going to give you all of these restrictions. This is here saying that all of these levels, unless they agree, it means nothing. For example, let me give you an example. Some leader turns around and says, oh, by the way, we have an enemy over there. We're going to go to war. And they can turn around and say, okay, guys, we got to go to war. Now, if we're in a state where we're saying, oh, shit, we got to go to war, and then we sign up to go and play there, that's fine. But if we turn around and say, no, why are we going to war? And a lot of times we're buying the idea that, oh, we have to do this, but it's all of these levels have to agree. And if we don't, it doesn't happen. So if somebody comes in, a president, a prime minister, a queen, or whoever, even the ones that we don't know from the shadow governments and so forth, turns around and says, hey, this is how the game is played. And us, and this is why we're going through this self-empowerment, has the choice and say, you know something? Nah, we're not going there. That's old. We've played there before. We saw ourselves in disempowered state. Yes, we saw that we, didn't have a say in the matter, which was all illusionary, but, we're not going there anymore. How many times people have asked you to do things and you have done things, but at some point you come to the realization, no, I'm not going there anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. And this is what's happening. We're giving ourselves another opportunity to turn around and say, no, you don't have to do that. Do we have to go hang these people? Do we have to go and arrest them? In fact, what are we doing? If we're challenging them and fighting them, we're just basically going into another ego game, and we're also going into lower frequencies. Okay? These are the bands of frequencies. So we're going down here, which all of this 2D, inverted 3D, inverted matrix operates, which is all, when we're looking at it, we're clearing out anyways. But here, no, this is your more empowered state. This is disempowered state. But it's a game, it's an illusion. So you can play in the disempowered, or you can play in the empowered state. These markers are great. They don't like writing sideways. Okay, so that's the thing. So we, by not being afraid that, like, I think there was a movie, I think the ant movie, I can't remember, where, the ants were governing the grasshoppers, or the grasshoppers against the ants and so forth, and they were putting the ants, I think it was called the ant movie, or whatever it was, I
don't remember.
I don't remember. Anyways, doesn't matter. The illusionary part is the grasshoppers were in very few numbers, and the ants were outnumbered. In fact, the ants were doing all the work. The ants were, bringing the food and whatever else, and was creating colonies and whatever else. And the grasshoppers just kept saying, as long as we make them believe that they're powerless or that we can harm them and that we actually have control of their life, then we're basically in charge and they're not going to question it. And that's what the role we played. And that was a choice we played. And that started 10,000 years ago when we went into that state. And we're going to talk about how all of this was brought in. Not today though. But so these are the ones that are saying, this is the new way we're going to play life. We're now going to limit you even further. And look at the perfection of this. The more you get pushed to limit your life, the more you get pushed to live a smaller life under the banner of fear, survival, the more you are bringing up stuff within yourself until you get to the point of, wait, hold on, I'm done with this. And you now step into an empowered state and say, you can't do anything without us approving. Not only that, you need us to play the game with you. You cannot play the game by yourself. Because those rules do not apply any longer, even though they never applied before. So we created that. So we have to understand this whole idea. Once we come to the point that every rule, every law, every way of life, and I don't care if it's religious, governmental, or any level of any game rules that have been applied, they're all made up. None of them are rigid. None of them actually have power, except that we choose to accept it and play with it. And that's what we're generally pushing ourselves to realize, that no one has power over anyone else. And in a sense, even if they created that illusion, you can still step away and say, we're not playing there. That's how powerful we are. And this is what we're doing right now. We're giving us the opportunity to say, wait a minute, we really can construct our own way of life in ways where we don't have to. And some people say, well, okay, look, they control the money system. That's artificial too. We created that as an idea that, as long as we have to earn a living or anything of that nature, which makes absolutely no sense in our most natural state. The body is not into any idea of that. The human entity say, well, I know that kind of we played with that, but that's superconscious says, what are you talking about, right? Your subconscious mind just has records, but the ego mind says yes, because that's the operating system. So overall, when you know within yourself, I come here to play, I come here to experience, I didn't come here to play in survival. Yes, I decided to take that on. Yes, I co-created that experience for a period of time, but now we're stepping outside of it. Go ahead.
Okay, so in explaining this about the 1% at the top and all the people below that don't have to agree to it, so in our society, and people are commenting here about what about the percentage that are agreeing to it and the percentage that aren't agreeing to it. So there is an evening out. So can you just explain how that works?
Absolutely. That's perfect. So right now, the majority are still agreeing. Okay? Now, when we're saying agreeing, they're already agreeing to the degree they're already questioning it, but they're agreeing to hold to that. For one reason, to really bring up all of that stuff that we want to purge anyways. So we're going to follow it. But look at it. Right now, we are being mandated how we can travel, how we can experience life, what we have access to. Okay? And also the idea that there's this boogeyman out there. And the boogeyman is this so-called virus or whatever you want to call it. I mean, there's so many different ideas, which, again, it's still an operating system that has no power over us except that we've agreed to. So what's going on? So you're saying, okay, the majority of this, and a huge majority, we're not even talking a small majority, a huge majority of this is still in agreement to take the instructions from the 1%. But guess what? Each one of us that are shifting away from that, each one of us that are going into that empowered state. I don't mean that you're going to go fight the system. You already realize the system is fake. The system is our choice to play. And then you start shaping your reality, your consciousness coming online to see things in a different way. Guess what happens? As we're going through that, as we're experiencing that part of it, we're creating activations within all of this as the individuals that start to destabilize the different levels. Look at the so-called whistleblowers, the ones that are saying, wait a minute here, look at what these guys are doing. Of course, as long as the ego is involved, it's going to say, oh, those demons, those bad persons, whatever it is, they're bad. They're playing the role. But what's happening is that we're finally, look at how many people are now looking into alternatives. When I talk about alternative news or researching and discovering. And here it's not about just taking anything that comes out there. You're going to always tune in, and that's what people are doing. So they're coming to the realization that the status quo, the information that's out there, look at it right now. Everything that's being projected on the media, okay? So conventional media or whatever they call it. How many of you are buying it 100%? Now you're on this, listening to this and saying, you know, I'm listening to this because I really want to see other parts of it, because there's a part of me that says, you know, I don't have to buy into that agenda. I don't have to give power to it. So more and more questioning. I see it. I mean, I've been here 62 years. And in the last several years, and each year it's accentuating exponentially in realization, there's more and more of these. They're saying, wait a minute here, okay? It doesn't have to be this way. How many people are seeing that everything that we've created as real, as this is the way life is and you cannot change it, are questioning it? And not only questioning, they're also looking for alternative aspects of them, alternative. The whole idea that we need to cooperate with, in the sense of whatever this is saying, we're saying, let's take a look at our life. How do we truly want to experience life moving forward? How much power do we want to give to the old? So, with everything that's playing out right now, it doesn't matter what they're streaming, they still, and this is a mind blower, as much as it looks as dark, as polarized as possible and creating fear, they are assisting us. As weird as that sounds, they're assisting us by accentuating the craziness, especially because we're seeing more of it now. And when I say more of it, we're seeing things more clearly. Oh, that's what's going on. And I've given a lot of power to that. And yes, I'm seeing that it doesn't have to play out that way. So the more limits you get, the more you get pushed to the point is that I'm done with the limits. We're not going to play it this way. So more and more of that. And you could see this second by second, moment by moment, that more and more are getting on board to come to the realization we don't need to give power to that. And even the money structure and so forth that, you know, governs a lot of it. Because if you ever really look at it, let's get real. It's just made up. And it doesn't matter if it's backed by gold, silver, or just petrodollars, or if it's just made out of thin air, because it is out of thin air. The whole thing is we created a system that we needed to have it, and that others have control over it, and that we could do. Because if you really look at the game is rigged. But the game is rigged for us to come to the point of going, I got it. We don't have to play the game this way. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, in the unseen part of all this, there's what's going on collectively. Yes, there's tons of people out there that appear to be on the, buying into the stories, and that seems like a giant size population. Mm-hmm. And how could we possibly counteract that? However, energetically, those people that are carrying that, their frequency supersedes a lot of that, correct? And so
Absolutely.
the tipping point for it to shift, it doesn't have to have everybody on board
Correct.
in order for it to shift.
Absolutely.
And I just, so people, just to know, because the question's coming up about the collective, how many is in the collective that are buying into the story, or instilling so much fear. That's why it's so important for the majority, even the small percentage of those who are in their knowing and are living from their authentic self can be such big game changers.
Exactly. So energetically, each one of these are 20,000 times more powerful in creating a change than, so basically one will negate 20,000 of the older, lower frequency and transmission. Now, not that we are depending on saviors, and that we are not only the saviors, but also whatever. We're looking at and saying, okay, the reason we set it up with it, this is the empowered state is so much more powerful than the disempowered state. Look at it this way. When you're in disempowered and you feel that you have no control, your vibration, your frequency, your energy, the zest of life. Okay, hold another second. And saying, okay, well, this is why it's so key and instrumental for all of us to really get the most clearest state, because then we become much more powerful catalysts and conduits of change and wisdom and awareness, so that we stimulate more connections. Now, we're also being facilitated by other brother sister souls on the planet. So not only are we here as the Playmates doing what we're doing, but we're also at the same time creating an environment where we are, Gaia's assisting us, we're being assisted by our solar system, the streaming of vibration and frequencies that puts us more in an empowered state, and also at the same time from our own galactic sun and so forth. Now, as I was saying before, and I'm not sure where it cut off, but at this point, when you're in a disempowered state, look at the energy that you feel within yourself. You can go lethargic, or you can feel in one way or another uninspired and so forth, and feeling hopeless and feeling depressed and maybe even experiencing anxiety. So it is not very powerful, and you can sway very easily, because in a disempowered state, whatever is playing out will have the opportunity to sway how you're going to direct your life or direction of anything at this point. When you're empowered, you feel energized. You're now aligning with all of this. You're, of course, aligning with yourself, your higher self, your human entity, and your body consciousness at its highest level. And now, fear doesn't even come up. You know that you can navigate, you can shift things, that you see that this is just a game and we can change the game, that we actually have the capacity to shift the game when you're in an empowered state. So these are saying, hey, wait a minute here, the few that's in there in comparison, and saying, look at how powerful we are. In fact, we can change all of this very easily. A lot of times we believe that life is difficult and that it's challenging. That's just an illusion that the ego mind and the collective have agreed to in that ego mind perspective. But when we're looking at it, we're not in any way, shape, or form really that of playing, how did I say it? I'm trying to think of the word for it. Oh, geez. I lost it. Okay. My mind just shifted off that. Okay. I can't remember what I was going to just say. All right. So anyways, we're talking about this empowerment. So when you're in that empowered state, you see that everything is simple. Because one of the things, that's what I was going to say, one of the things that people tend to believe is that change takes time. And we have to go through the different stages, and it's going to take us another 10 years or whatever it is. as you've noticed, over the last while, changes are happening rather quickly, and it's going to continue. So in fact, us to become more on board, the way it's being staged right now is huge. So that, in fact, we will be able to move through it a lot quicker and much more at ease. Okay. So one of the things that come up is, when are we expecting these changes to take place? In the sense of living the life that we wanted to live, to really go into that natural state. It's a good, fair question. How long is it going to take? When is our so-called better world going to materialize, and that we can now go play as little kids and have fun in adult bodies and so forth? Well, the question comes back to you. How long is it going to take you personally to start creating that new world? To start visualizing, seeing it. So basically, it's really you experiencing it. So what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter what you see around you. It doesn't matter what is playing out around you. You're now seeing the world the way you're seeing it. You see it as the playground. For example, you go out and you see that people are distancing themselves, and you see that people are maybe wearing masks, or the fact that you go to different services that are still open at this point in time, and there's all these protocols and whatever else. So you can look at it and say, oh my gosh, things are getting worse, or things can't change, this is never going to change, this is only going to create a new template of how live life in a much more restricted way. Maybe we're in a communist country now, or whatever it is, all of those reflections. Or you can look at it from that new perspective, going, wow, what an interesting dance. And you start to envision from your own projection as the game, and the game is just there playing for whoever wants to play there, but you don't have to play it in that. You may still take certain steps in the sense of, okay, I got to line up before I can go in the store, or I can do whatever. But you're now watching it in a playful state rather than seeing it the restriction part, because what you're doing is you're stimulating that awareness within you, that's rippling effect in a very powerful way. As a powerful transmitter, you become a powerful satellite transmitter that transmits throughout the whole collective. So everyone is receiving that state, and more of us doing that will alter it in a bigger way. So in that particular dance, the question is, how quickly can we align to that true essence of how we create our reality, seeing that new world that is already there. And if you followed any of my workshops before, and also some of the other talks, is that we are already on the platform. So when we're talking about the platform, we're already there. That supports us in that new state. It's how do we start to use that platform? What is it going to take? Really, every change is very easy to do. But the ego mind and everybody's collective idea is going to say it's very hard. You start living it through yourself. You start seeing it through yourself. Were you going to say something?
No, I think it was answered already.
Okay.
It was just in regards to some people. Earlier we were talking about, purpose of life and all that stuff, but there was a comment on here that someone was feeling that they didn't have a purpose. Let me just read it quickly, and then
Okay.
then you can just hold on. I gotta find it because it goes back a little ways. Okay, sorry. Close. Okay. The biggest part I feel I have had such a difficult time with is that my life was not real or had no meaning or purpose. And I know there's lots of people out there that feel that way. So if you could just say something about why we would be feeling that way and how to move out of it, perhaps.
Okay. Well, we did cover a lot of it already in the earlier part of this episode. But let's look at it again a little closer, or let's do a quick review on it. So when we're talking about the purpose, Okay? Like as I was saying, our purpose really right now is to bring the truest, highest aspect of yourself in aligned state into your reality playground. So that means bringing you, that's your first part, bringing you in full alignment in the highest aspect, bringing in the highest consciousness of your body, the highest consciousness of your human entity, and the highest aspect of your soul into the reality of your life. Because once you do that, you will see that many things will present on that is not limited to the way it was before. For example, you see yourself and say, well, I don't feel like I'm doing anything of value. Many people feel that. I'm not doing anything of value. Well, what does that mean? Because a lot of people could be doing things they call of value, but are they really living that value in a genuine state? Because they're not at that higher state. So they may be still teaching or sharing from their lower state. So the purpose right now is, to eliminate everything that we've gained as part of our experience from lineage, from our past lives, from our current life, from every story, idea, concept, and belief systems that we've taken on, our ego mind, and whatever else that we've taken. We're purging all of that. So we're bringing all of this alignment to the highest aspects of yourself. And then, while you're doing that, you're emanating much more powerfully. You're not here by mistake, okay? You brought yourself here, yes, to experience what you came here to experience, yes, to contribute in one way or another, and it may not be active in a sense where I'm going out to protest, but just your connections, your communications, your awareness of that is already affected. But you will know, you will feel when it's a different action has to be taken, or taking on a different role. Now, you can look at it and say, oh, well, I've been around for X amount of years and I've always felt aimless or purposeless about my life. But that was then, and that was that whole period of time. You were going through whatever those, to feel that, to experience it, because many people feel that. But now you're actually brought yourself to a state where I can choose to move forward because I'm preparing myself. But right now, the intensities that we're experiencing is really, really, really bringing up all of that stuff that really was not the real you, okay? Let's get real. To get real, to get pure, to get, when I say pure, the pure essence of who you are, to get to that level of frequency of self-empowerment, of knowing that you are source, that you are here to create and experience life at this point in time, then you're able to be much more effective. And you have to understand, in this empowered state, this band of frequency, it doesn't matter if you roll out any of this stuff, it's first of all, you won't even allow yourself to create it because you're not going to even be there. But if you do, it's ineffective to you because you're at a vibration where it doesn't have that power. You were going to say something?
Scott's just asking, how do we shut down more of the ego mind's influence? Can we uninstall it?
Yes, you can. But the thing is, you don't want to uninstall it. You want to play with it. What do I mean by that? Okay. It's like saying, I have a pest, somebody that bugs me. I just want them to go away because they're nagging all the time. They're doing whatever. Unfortunately, which is fortunate, that is not the solution because, oh, my ego is gone. Now I can go out and play. The point is to make your ego your amigo, your friend. As weird as that sounds, make it your friend. Acknowledge it. Appreciate it. Love it. And then you'll see that you're stepping into an empowered state and you're not going to give it the power that it has had up to you. Because a lot of us are trying to escape from the very tool that we took on. The only reason it's still active within you, because you're still learning from it. You're still giving yourself the opportunity. This applies to everybody, and it's not just individualized, because we're all, okay? The ego plays a very polarized role. It actually shows us this empowered state. It really drags us back into, over and over again, into this nice little dance that is feeling that you're out of, you're not the master creator of your reality and the co-creation of your reality. So it just brings you through that. So the thing is, by acknowledging its presence, its stories, or whatever it is, it's like, oh, very interesting. It's like somebody, okay, let me give you an example. And this is beneficial for everybody. So if you got somebody that's a partner or a friend or a family member or whatever, that's very annoying all the time because we feel irritated by that person. And they're always telling you what to do, how to live life, because that's what the ego does. It tells you how to live life, what to do, how to see it, what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, what, should we give power to. You've got to protect yourself, you got to survive, you got to do whatever. It's that, you got to see it as another individual aspect of yourself that is also doing that. Now, the thing is, if it's irritating you, then you're not seeing it as, I'm not acknowledging it, I'm actually rejecting you. It's like somebody in your life and you're rejecting the person and you're wishing for them to go away. What is it going to do? As long as they're irritating you, they have to be of service. The moment you don't want them, they have to be there. When you want them there because of whatever, or the fact that you no longer have any issues with it, then it doesn't have to be there anymore. Okay, now I'm accepting it. I'm okay with it. Then it starts to go. So when your ego is actually bringing up a lot of stories, a lot of belief systems that you have stored in the subconscious mind and stuff that we've adopted or taken on. So use the appreciation that it's bringing all of that stuff up. You want to get to the point where the ego, like anybody else, like you have somebody else as an individual, I'm hoping I'm making this clear. I have another individual. You want to get to the point where you love them, no matter what. Doesn't matter if they tell you what to do. And it doesn't matter if they're irritating in one way or another. What happens is you're going to drop all of those irritations, because those are all ideas of programs and so forth that are playing out. You're clearing up, and then you have an appreciation for it. Ego, you're so freaking amazing. You did such a beautiful job, whatever it is. And then you can have a romance with it in the sense of going through all its qualities. Yes, you showed me the polarized world. Yes, you kicked my ass at different points. Yes, you made me believe all this stuff. Yes, you uncovered all of this stuff in my subconscious mind. Yes, you bought into the whole idea of the inverted matrix, inverted 3D, 2D. Yes, we went down that path of separation. Yes, dark and light, right and wrong, good and bad, and all of that. You now appreciate it. So this is the thing. Everybody, appreciate everything, every story, every part. Because as much as the inverted matrix is gone, okay, and the support of the 2D inverted 3D is gone, the only thing we got left is the ego. Well, the ego is for us to really appreciate it, and then we can take it out of commission. But we're not taking it out of commission because we have an issue with it. It's because we no longer acquire it. So in fact, what happens is this is what the software system does. The ego mind does not understand, cannot operate in love, cannot understand, operate in a high vibration frequency of appreciation. You make it go into cannot compute, because it only feeds itself. It's only have power when you're in a disempowered state. When in one way or another that somehow you go into emotional charges, right, wrong, good, bad, fear, and all of that stuff. Even happiness is very ego-directed, because happiness and sadness are still polarity worlds. You can be in a state of joy and appreciation and playfulness, but as you notice, happy comes and goes. Sad comes and goes. All of these are polarities. So you're basically going into that pure essence and joy. So what you're doing with that when it comes to the ego mind is get to the point of making it your friend. Love it, appreciate it, and don't say, I'm going to get rid of it in the next 10 minutes. No, you're going to Each time that it brings up a story, that's very cool. I love you. I appreciate. Thank you for that. It's reminding me, and especially if there's an emotional charge, if there's any part of that, you know that there's a story. Oh, thank you for uncovering the story. Write it down, then clear out the story, because we don't have to give power to the story. Because what you're doing is the ego mind has to use all of these stories, programs, belief systems, labels, and definitions that are in the subconscious mind. As I said before, if you believe that you're unworthy, it has to have that belief, and then the ego mind is saying, hey, wait a minute, yeah, hey, you're unworthy. Look at all these things that you've done. Look at all these. It's going to keep digging into the resource. So you want to bring it up because, the ego now, really, the ego is serving you. It's always served you. First, it served you to keep in a locked up state. Now it's serving you to show you all the stuff that you got coming up to the surface. So use it as a tool, because it is a tool. So and when it tells you something, oh, okay, yeah, do I have a belief around that? Okay, let's take care of that. And if it comes up in different ways, you just see it. Just keep acknowledging all of that. As it comes up, just acknowledge it. Okay, great. Oh, I got this story coming up. I got that, whatever it is. So use it as a tool. And when you become friends with it, and you're acknowledging it, and you're actually have an appreciation for it, you're actually in a very empowered state. So you now can distinguish the two. There's the you, which is made up of your superconscious, your human entity, your body consciousness, and then the ego mind. So you could see it. Oh, okay, that's just the story. That's just the program, whatever else. So you want to clear it. So the uninstalling it is not going to be as a service. It's like going in and saying, uninstall the 1%. Guess what? You unplug this 1%, and we're going there. Holy shit, what are we going to do? We're in new territory here. We don't understand how we're doing it. But by all of us becoming more empowered and having a deeper understanding, we're creating a foundation so that there's a transition, a handing off. Because once this is no longer required, we already know how to direct it from there instead of feeling lost. It was like the inverted matrix. I had the great idea because I work on the back end and everything else, just put a virus in the inverted matrix and crash it, But we weren't ready. We weren't ready because we didn't know how to navigate. So now it's out, and it has been out since the end of last year. But now the ego mind is still filling the bill until we can get to the point, and which we are working towards, because we're active in that, to bring it to the point of, I love you, thank you, I appreciate you, and clear each program. Once there's no more programs to grasp, it stops operating because there's nothing for it to play with. And especially because you loved it and appreciated it, it doesn't know how to deal with that too well. Because it's like, oh, what about this? What about that? What about that? It's like somebody that wants to push your buttons and whatever else. You go, yeah, that's interesting. But you have no buttons to push. They stop pushing the buttons. Not only do they stop pushing the buttons, the button, even if they tried, it's deactivated. So that's that. Anything else? Okay. Well, thank you again for this episode. We'll play again next Saturday, or this coming Saturday. And we'll see what we'll play with that one. Yeah, we're not sure quite yet for that one. But let's go get real. Let's go and play. This is the thing. When we really look at things, we see that nothing's real. We just create opportunities to play. So go out and play.